Okay, right here. Okay, well, I'll just start, inshallah. And if I guess you will have control with, you can mute and unmute yourselves. So if you notice any technical issues, just flag it up to me. Is that all right, inshallah?
Okay.
Yep, sounds good.
Fantastic. Right here. So, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much for joining tonight. Hopefully most of you know me. I'm Hafsa, I'm a GP in Lincoln. I've also trained in coaching, and I'm also, one of my roles is also being chair of the BIMA Council, but tonight I'm just doing as myself, just hoping to share some nuggets with you all. I'm also a mother of two, a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. So with the school closing and all that, I can definitely relate to all that as well. Can you all see my slides?
I can see it, yeah.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
Yeah, we can see your slides. Thank you.
Yep.
So just so you all know, I am also recording tonight. So basically today, what I wanted to talk to you about is basically giving you a brief recap of this situation with coronavirus. And then talk about mainly like some strategies for dealing with stress and the overwhelm that all of this is causing us, and also looking at how we can change this maybe into an opportunity and some useful mindsets to deal with the situation. So bear with me if I start coughing, because I'm actually delivering this while I'm in self-isolation myself. I've had a bit of dry cough and a bit of a fever earlier in the week, so I've put myself in self-isolation. Okay, so just a disclaimer before we start that, I just wanted to say, you know, I'm not an expert in infectious diseases or an epidemiologist. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a scholar. As I mentioned, I'm just a GP and I've trained in life coaching. So the suggestions and the things I'm sharing with you today are mainly from my own humble learning. Right here. So just a reminder of the seriousness of the situation, and inshallah. So this is literally, this pandemic that we're facing today, it's a once in a century event. It's completely unprecedented. I'm sure most of you can't really recall something like this ever happening before. And I think the message is getting through that this is quite serious, a serious situation. And why is it so serious? Like, why is this virus taken off like unlike any other? So there's a couple of things that's causing this a grave concern. Firstly, it's that this virus is very contagious, and it can be transmitted by asymptomatic people without any symptoms. So the incubation period is 1 to 14 days. So that means you can have no symptoms but still have the virus for about 14 days before you start to show symptoms. Average of 5 days, but still 40, it could be up to 14 days. I think the average cold flu, it's about 3 to 5 days. So this is a lot longer in sort of asymptomatic phase, and it can therefore grow exponentially because people don't realize they have it and they're still meeting other people. I think that the statistic is for every one person that has it, they pass it on to 3 others at least, and that's why it grows exponentially. And that's why that's why these social distancing rules have come into place and these isolation rules. And the other reason why this is very concerning is because with coronavirus, the mortality is very high. The mortality is about, predicted to be about 3.5% versus normal flu, which is about 0.1%. So you're 35 times more likely to die of this than if you got normal flu, okay? And how is this spread? Just as a recap, it's spread via air droplets, so people coughing and spreading it in the air, or the virus particles being on surfaces and then it going onto your hands, and then from the hands it can go into your system via your touching your face, touching your mouth, nose, and your eyes. Just gonna log out for a second just to check if anyone else is waiting. I'll have to do that from time to time, I'm afraid. Okay. Okay, and the thing is with coronavirus is that the symptoms of coronavirus is very similar to other normal cold or flu. So although fever and dry cough is being said as being the main thing, it could also present in other ways: fatigue, phlegm, shortness of breath, joint pain, just a normal sore throat, headache, stuffy nose, chills, vomiting, diarrhea. So it can actually present other ways, just like the normal cold or flu. So it's quite hard to distinguish from just a normal cold or flu. And basically, this is just a slide. I won't go in too much into the stats and things because there's other things circulating about that. But just to give it the context, this is what's really worrying. The mortality is really high. And the mortality, as you can see, it's not so much in kids or healthy young people. It's mainly, you can see this people 80 plus years, 14.8%. That means 1 in 6 people who are over the age of 80 could die if they get this. And 1 in about 10, almost 1 in 10 people over the age of 70, if they get this, they could die. So that's what makes this extremely, extremely serious. And especially if everybody's getting it at the same time, the hospitals can be overwhelmed. And also, it's mainly those who have underlying health problems that are more susceptible to dying from it. So if you have no health condition, you're basically less likely to die from it. But if you have cancer, hypertension, any chronic respiratory disease, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, if people with heart disease, if they get this, that 1 in 10 will die basically if they get this virus on top. And this is what this slide just demonstrates why these protective measures have come into place, this social isolation and social distancing. Is because if we don't do that, then the NHS just does not have the capacity to deal with all these people getting super sick at the same time. So without the measures, the NHS will be totally overwhelmed, and people will be having to make decisions on who goes in a life support machine, who doesn't. In Italy, they've said people over 60s can't go in a life support machine. That would be a horrible situation for us to be in. So that's why the government are putting out these measures to try and it'll mean that it'll last longer, but it will be hopefully a bit more spread out. Okay, and I just wanted to again just recap, the government advice that, because I think it can't be emphasized enough, especially to the elderly. If you're listening to this and you have, elderly parents or people with health problems, please just, pass on the message to them, inshallah. Basically, it's important to self-isolate if anybody in your household has symptoms for 14 days, anybody, because if anyone in your household's got it, you're likely to have it as well. Basically, avoid non-essential contact, wash your hands regularly, avoid touching your face, because as we said, that's the means through which it gets into the eyes. It can get into your system by the eyes, mouth, or nose. So just avoid touching your face as much as possible. Distance yourself from others as much as possible when you're out and about as well. 2 meter distance is suggesting separate towels, separate glasses. If some people in the house are symptomatic, then have separate spaces, like using separate toilets, for example. Minimize contact with the vulnerable, especially if you're symptomatic. This is going to be very hard. People with elderly parents, people with sick, it's going to be a struggle, but it's important for them that we minimize the contact as much as possible, especially if you're symptomatic. And try and boost your immunity, especially if you're vulnerable or already have an underlying health problem. Make sure you're eating healthy, exercising, sleeping on time. So moving on to the main thing. So is everybody with me so far? Like, have not lost anyone? Tech is good.
Government grants will cover.
Yeah? Can I have some feedback? Yusuf, you can see me?
Yeah, it's great, mashallah. Thanks, Hafsa. Enjoying it.
Okay, good. Thanks. Yes, as I say, I've never used this software before. So just make sure nobody else is waiting to join. Great, okay. So yes, I think one of the main things that's affected us all is this amount of stress and overwhelm we're feeling. Life has suddenly changed. People are not going to work all of a sudden overnight. People are literally worried about dying and about the health of their loved ones, and about their loved ones potentially dying from this pandemic. We're suddenly in self-isolation. Somebody in a house starts coughing, oh, all of a sudden we have to be in self-isolation. There's obviously worries about supplies in supermarkets. Are we going to get enough food? Are we going to get enough petrol? Now the kids are out of school. So dealing with them on a daily basis and dealing with them while trying to work from home, like that's going to be a hard one. There's been confusion as well over the government strategy and kind of a lack of trust as well in the government strategy. And then it's, overall it's been really emotionally taxing, like not seeing relatives, I haven't seen my parents for 2 weeks. I've not seen one of my relatives who came back from India that I normally would go straight away. She's elderly, she's over 70. I haven't been to see her because I've had a cough. So it's really like, a pull on your heart. And especially, with the masajid closing, Masjid Haram not doing Salah, there being no Jummah, it's really a very emotional time for all of us. Very like, it's completely like something from the apocalypse. It's very stressful. But we have to try to keep calm, not panic, and cling to the positives, inshallah. So yeah, this is what I wanted to really talk about today. So being self-aware of our levels of stress. Bear with me 1 second. I'm just going to make sure nobody else is waiting to join. It's a bit annoying having to do that, but yeah, so basically being self-aware, it's really, really important that we're aware of what's triggering us and what's stressing us out. And when we're feeling stressed, that we're aware of it. So stress, if you like, has layers and it compounds. So, the more stresses we have on us, the more likely we are to snap. So, for example, if you've not slept and then on top of that, your child's sick and on top of that, you have work pressure, then it'll just take one little thing and then we'll snap and we'll be more likely to get angry and get really like flustered and frustrated, okay? So when we have multiple, just be aware that when you have multiple stresses rather than just one, we're more likely to snap at the little things. So you have to be aware of all the different things stressing you out in any one moment. And now we all have this big stressor of this COVID-19 lurking, in the atmosphere being around us. So regulating our stress level, and we've, as I say, gone through so many changes. So that's just, suddenly come on top of all our everyday stresses. So regulating our stress levels now is more important than ever. I urge you all to remember the physiology of the fight or flight response. Like notice, what happens when in a stress response, our heart starts racing. We feel that feeling in our stomach. Sometimes we could get panicky, we get like hyperstimulated. So that's how the physiology way that our whole body gets triggered. So be aware of when that process is starting to happen in your body and be aware of what things are triggering you. And it's important to try and minimize those stresses and regulate ourselves as much as possible, inshallah. As I said, it's more important than others, self-regulation. And a key point I want to give to you guys is that you can't rely on other people to regulate your emotions and your nervous system, right? You can't rely on your husband or wife or partner to try and make you feel less stressed. Like, that's not fair to place that responsibility on them. Like, you have to regulate yourselves. And ultimately, this is something my mentor said, that this is a marker of an adult, the ability for us ourselves to regulate our own stress. That's a marker of you being an adult, because babies can't do that. Babies do not have the ability to self-soothe. They rely on a parent soothing them. And likewise, children, when they have a tantrum or when they feel very emotional, they rely on their parents to give them a hug and keep them calm. But we as adults, we can't rely on other people any longer to be constantly doing that for us. We have to be aware. Yeah, it's fine if a hug calms us down, it's fine to ask a spouse or a parent or a child for a hug, but we have to be aware of what things regulate us and try and regulate ourselves and try and calm ourselves down. Oops. Right here. So, you know, when you're in a tense environment, especially if you're self-isolating now, and if everybody's tense in the household, bear in mind that this is what can lead to fights in the family, because if everybody in the house is stressed out, it'll just take that one thing to lead to having fights in the family. And bear in mind as well that everyone else is feeling that stress as well. We're all feeling stressed out. So, you know, when you see another family member being a bit stressed or being a bit, you know, acting a bit frustrated, have compassion for them and know what they're going through, and share some of what you might learn today with them as well, that the need to self-regulate, the need to be aware of what we're experiencing, the need to be aware of our own stress levels. And as I say, try and minimize that, reduce that environment of stress, inshallah. And it's especially important when you're self-isolating, you're going to be stuck in the house for like 14 days. And it's really, really important to minimize that background body stress that you get from not sleeping enough, not eating healthy, not exercising, okay? I'll keep mentioning that over and over again. So some tips for self-regulation. Some tips for us to regulate our own emotions and reduce our stress levels. So firstly, be aware where your feelings of stress are coming from. And those feelings of stress are coming from your thinking in the moment at any one time. It could be your conscious thinking, it could be your subconscious thinking. You might not even be aware of what you're thinking, but your feeling of stress will be coming from what you are feeling, what you are thinking in that moment. So if your thoughts are constantly, you know, full of worried thinking, if you're constantly reading the news, constantly checking your WhatsApp and having all these forwards coming through, constantly following the statistics, you know, constantly worrying about what's going to happen, then you're going to constantly be in that state of stress. You're going to be constantly feeling that stress. So a key to self-regulation, I believe, is in a way escaping our thoughts, because it's in our thoughts that we fill ourselves up with all these different thought loops and worried thinking. So a key way of when you're feeling really stressed and anxious and having full of worried thinking, worrying about your parents, worrying about work, worrying about your kids, is to kind of escape your thoughts. And an easy way to escape your thoughts is to focus on your breathing. So conscious breathing, focused breathing. And a little again tip that my mentor suggested is, you know, you breathe in for 4 seconds and out for 8 seconds, and do that 5 times. Okay, so breathe in for 4 seconds and out for 8 seconds. And another one of, you know, another fellow coach mentioned, a Muslim coach mentioned to me that when you do this, you can add another layer of like, when you breathe in, you say like Allah in your mind, and when you breathe out, you say Allah, like who, like, so just practice this for a second with me just now. And if you are feeling a little bit stressed, just notice how it might start to calm your heart rate down. So just take 5 breaths with me, breathing in for 4 seconds and out for 8 seconds, or roughly the exhale is double of your inhale. So just try that with me now.
Hafsa, can you just add my friend who's waiting to join? I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
It's kind of annoying because I have to do this. Oh, 17.
Sorry.
Sorry guys, I wish there was a way I could like be checking this at the same time as presenting, but as I say, I'm new to the software. So assalamu alaikum to everyone just joined. We're just talking about self-regulating in times of stress. We were talking about breathing. Okay, before we practice this exercise, I just wanted to say to you all that I used to think, oh, breathing techniques, like how can that possibly calm you down? It's just a load of kind of, you know, wishy-washy rubbish. Breathing, how can it really calm you down? But one thing that was pointed out to me is that the breath is the link between the unconscious and conscious mind, right? Like if you think about it, we don't consciously breathe, but all the time we just breathe unconsciously, subconsciously, like we just breathe automatically. But isn't it amazing that we can actually take that away from our unconscious self and start consciously breathing, control the rate of our breathing? If you think about it, we can't consciously control the rate of what's happening in our cells. We can't consciously really directly control our heart rate or how fast our heart's pumping blood. We can't make our heart beat a certain rate, right? But we can control how fast our we breathe. Like that's, and other animals don't have this ability. So it's amazing how the breath, and somebody said maybe this is a gift from Allah that Allah has given us to self-regulate, that we can literally control the rate of our breathing. So as you know, just to take a moment to you know, reflect on that, and as you do this exercise. So I just want you to practice doing a few breaths with me, just breathing in and out. So a deep breath in. 4 seconds in, 8 seconds out. And if you want, like, you know, just think the word Allah in your mind as you're breathing in, Allah, and then Hu as you breathe out. And you can basically do that anytime, right? Like, you know, if you're just, you know, your kid's stressing you out, you're trying to put their shoes on, trying to go out or trying to dress them, and you're just getting a bit, you know, just getting a bit frazzled, just take a moment to just breathe, like do 5 breaths, and you'll, as I say, I used to think it's just mumbo jumbo, but it does actually work for me. So give it a shot, inshallah. Okay. So the next tip for sort of self-regulation is really just being present in the moment. So really put your full focus and attention into whatever you're doing, and tune all your senses, your eye, your sight, your hearing, your touch, into whatever you're doing. And this is essentially what the practice of mindfulness is. As I say, you're trying to escape your thoughts, worrying about coronavirus, worrying about what's going to happen, worrying about all the things as you're doing things, and instead just focusing on what you're doing in the moment. And I think for us, with those of us with kids, like this is especially important, to just be present really with our kids and not be like worrying about the you know, the alerts coming through on our phones. And you know, it's really important to just put those phones away when you're, you know, in order to do this effectively. So really just be present in the moment. And kids, I just went for a walk with my son today, and I just realized, you know, kids are so good at this. They're so observant. They're just really just super present in the moment. But, you know, as somehow, somewhere along the line of being a grown-up, we lose that ability. So yeah, really just focus on being present in the moment. Another thing is, you know, going out in the, if you're feeling frazzled or stressed, the outdoors, going in fresh air does a lot of good. And we can still go out even though we're in social distancing. As long as you stay 2 meters away from others, it's fine to like go out and just go for a walk. And I think a lot of national trusts as well are opening up, basically giving you free access to a lot of the national trusts. So, you know, avail that, inshallah. Another thing to do if you're feeling just stressed, frazzled, you know, just exercise, just get into your body, just do a little bit of exercise. You'll notice that it'll just cheer you up and just stop you worrying, because it's really hard to be worrying loads when you're, you know, when you've got that lactic acid building up in your body. So exercise really helps. Another thing I want to say is that if an emotion does come up, like fear, like you're, I don't know, you're reading something and you feel genuine fear, or, you know, you really are having a moment of worry. And, you know, not if it's all the time because of your own thing, but say you're reading an article, you watch the news and you feel that fear, or somebody says something to you, like you hear about somebody dying or something, and a fear comes up in you, you know, experience that fear in the moment, you know, don't repress it, because if you repress it, it'll just try and it'll just keep surfacing over and over again. So ask yourself, what is that emotion or feeling actually trying to tell me? Is it trying to give me a message? And one of my mentors says that emotions are messengers between the unconscious and conscious mind. Like, it's like emotions or feelings are like our unconscious mind trying to tell our conscious mind something. That's just a theory. I don't know what you think of that. I just thought it was an interesting thought, that emotions are like kind of messengers between our unconscious and conscious mind. So it's useful to ask, what is that fear telling me? What is that sadness telling me? Like, if you feel fear, is it telling me that, you know, my loved ones can die and I need to like try and tell them to, you know, implement social isolation and social distancing a bit more? You know, what is that emotion trying to tell you? Let's check no one else is waiting to join. Oh dear. Okay, assalamu alaikum to people who are just joined. Okay, so some more tips to reduce stress. Good sleep. I've said this time and time again, but it's really, really important at this time to get, good sleep, good 8 hours sleep. I tell myself foremost, for reminder for myself before reminder for you, because I'm not always good at sleeping a lot. But yeah, it's really important at this time. We have to do all we can to boost our immune system. So good sleep, making sure we're eating healthy, having food on time as well, making sure we're drinking plenty of water. Another big thing is I would strongly recommend limiting checking news and messages to 3 times a day, and maybe set a timer for how long you check those messages, because it's right now there's so many messages going around, and I'm finding it really overwhelming. So I'm sure, I bet you guys are too. Like, there's so many things coming through, useful things as well as not so useful things, but the point is so much is coming through. So limit your checking, because it's still all about coronavirus, whether it's useful or not. So limit that to maybe 3 times a day, maybe sort of mid-morning, after morning time, afternoon time, evening time, not like all the time, like just checking your phone all the time, because these constant messages are really heightening our stress levels, I feel. Also, plan good routines with your children in advance. And for yourself, plan good routines in advance. So you don't get to the end of the day and you think, oh, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Excuse me. As I mentioned, I'm in self-isolation myself at the moment with this dry cough. So yeah, the other thing is, do things that make you laugh, and play games with your family, have fun with your family. Just things that cheer you up. Just do things that make you laugh. Another useful technique if you're feeling stressed can be to write down your thoughts or journal what you're feeling. Another one I like that I learned in my recent course is look for what we call microscopic delights in all moments. Look for the delight at every possible moment. Always be scanning yourself, your environment, your experiences for those small moments of delight. The hug of your child, just feel it, experience it, the taste of the food you're eating, the cold air on your face, just those little moments. Like, this is a good technique for all the time, like just be scanning for microscopic delights. It's a good technique for all the time, but especially now, especially at a time of stress, just really look for those microscopic delights, little things to take pleasure in. And also,
Assalamu alaikum, sister. I'm sorry for interrupting you.
No
I can tell that you're struggling to talk. I mean, do you want to have a few minutes rest so you can, breathe properly without having to speak and cough?
I'm just having a little drink. Thank you so much. Yeah. So
Are you sure?
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you shifa. Ameen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Like I say, I've been in self-isolation this week with a bit of a fever earlier in the week, and yeah, like having this cough. So that's why I was like, oh, I need to I had all these thoughts, and I need to, inshallah, share some of, the things I'm studying with others, inshallah. So yeah, the final point is, call up, video call friends and family, inshallah, especially like the elderly. That's another thing, elders, calling them up, another thing that can, reduce stress, cheer you up, just connecting with family members, inshallah. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to really talk about today is, okay, yes, there's a lot of negatives, all this new coronavirus, but, they say in every crisis, there's an opportunity. So look and see the opportunity in this, have that mindset shift of, this is actually, if you think about it, there is an opportunity here. So if you're not self-isolating, there is so much opportunity right now to do good, right? So instead of busying yourself with worrying thoughts about coronavirus and, almost like having analysis paralysis and just shutting down, busy yourself in your free time with helping others. This is the time. This is so many people are in need of help right now. There's lots of people self-isolating, and elders in need of help with grocery shopping, things like that. really, please put yourselves out there to help others as much as possible. I can see a lot of people are already doing that, mashallah, but really put yourself out there to help others. Offer, can I do grocery shopping for anyone? Does anyone need any help? You know, it's important to have this mindset shift, like, you know, how can we be of use right now? Are we going to be part of the problem? Or are we going to be part of the solution? Are we going to be just mingling and spreading this virus around and being part of the problem? Or are we going to be part of the solution? Are we going to be helping people isolate? Are we going to do that shopping for them so that they don't have to go out and potentially spread the virus, or, you know, put themselves at risk? You know, are we going to be part of the problem or part of the solution? This is an unprecedented time, as I said. Allah is giving us such a big opportunity now to do good. So please remember that. Just checking no one else is waiting. Okay. And if you're self-isolating, or, you know, well, even if you're not self-isolating, you're basically going to be at home a lot more now. There's going to be less social engagements, less parties, less maybe you're at work, working from home, or, you know, basically going out less. So this is a unique once in a lifetime opportunity to slow down. Like, you know, we have such busy lives, you know, taking our kids to school, taking our kids to madrasa, going to work, going from one place to another. This is a unique opportunity to really slow down. It's an opportunity to really focus on our health. You know, it's a push incentive, you know, at this time, as we have to boost our immunity, to really focus on our health, get our start an exercise routine, start get healthy habits in eating. There's less stuff in the supermarket anyway, so make sure you're just buying healthy food, getting a good sleep routine. And, you know, even though we can't go to gyms necessarily, you know, the YouTube's is such the internet's such a good resource. There's loads of stuff on YouTube for exercise. It's a time to do all those things that we think, oh, we need to do, like clear the clutter in the house, but we never get time to do. If you're self-isolating and you're not going to work or whatever, and you're at home more, it's a unique time to do all that things, clear out those cupboards, clear out that clutter at home. I'm sure a lot of, like, you know, young mums will perhaps relate to that point. It's a unique time to practice being less wasteful, you know, because there's so, you know, we're relying on others for supplies, and also because there is like a shortage of stuff in the shops, you know, it's a unique time for us to really think about what food we're buying, what food we're consuming, making sure we're not letting the bread go off or the milk go off. Practice being less wasteful and take that forward, inshallah, into our lives post-coronavirus. It's a unique time to really connect with our loved ones, really focus on our relationships. If your, you know, husbands are at home, or your spouses are at home, you'll have a lot more potential, and you're all self-isolating together all of a sudden, your kids are at home. It's a unique time, really, unique opportunity to connect with them, spend quality time with them, spend quality time with our loved ones. And when you're doing this, I strongly recommend put your phones away, because if your phones are there, it's not quality time, it's not a true connection, I feel. So put the phones away. I remind myself foremost, you know, when you're spending time with your kids and your loved ones, and really use this unique opportunity that Allah has given us to connect with our kids and our loved ones and our family members. It's a time that, you know, we've got more time, we can phone up those relatives and friends that we've not spoken to in a while. So, you know, there's one thing to be checking your phone all the time, like absentmindedly, which a lot of us do. And there's one thing to like have intentional, you know, phone time of checking up friends and family, checking they're okay, FaceTiming them, especially I think with our parents and things. It's great that we've got like things like FaceTime now, we can just check up on them. It's a great time to be focusing on our religious goals, you know, establishing a daily Quran habit, things like learning Arabic, things that we think we want to do, but we don't have time to do. It's a good time to start that habit now, because we don't know actually how long the social isolation is going to last. Some people are saying, what, 12 weeks ahead today? I'm not sure, but that's not verified, but it's a unique time to do that. And a good time to do things like read self-development books, intellectually stimulating books, books you might have been meaning to read for a while. So basically, time is now less of an excuse, inshallah. Just gonna log out and just check again. All right. now this is one, it's an opportunity, you know, because your time is in your control, even if you're working from home, it's an opportunity to establish new routines. Now, I strongly believe that routines and habits are the key to success, consistent habits. So, you know, I just wanted to share like a suggested routine, for example, a suggested morning routine for having a less stressful day, because that's what we're talking about, having less stress in our day. So what I would suggest to you guys, like this is just something I say I've picked up from my coaching and my mentors in coaching. A really good morning habit. This would take like 20 minutes to do, not more than that, 20 to 30 minutes. You know, freshen up, make wudu in the morning first thing, drink water because you're likely to be dehydrated after the night. And then make a detailed morning dua. Like, so this is assuming you, because Fajr is earlier, like you've already read Fajr. You know, make a detailed morning dua. I keep my morning dua like on my phone, so I remember it. But make, you know, really pray for the health of your loved ones. Pray that this will pass, this coronavirus will pass without affecting any of your loved ones, without it being a complete catastrophe. You know, really make dua for all the things you desire, and connect to Allah first thing. And then I would suggest, you know, reading at least 10 ayahs of Quran with translation. Again, doesn't take too long to do, and especially if you've got an app on your phone. Then exercise, even if it's just for 10 minutes, even if it's for just 2 minutes, 5 minutes. It's really important just to get your body moving, because they say that moving and exercise, it acts as a de-stressor, as an antidepressant. Like moving and exercising gets those, you know, endorphins going, and it acts as a antidepressant, basically, exercising. So so even if it's for I've got small kids, it's not always possible, but just even if it's movement for 2 minutes, just going on an exercise machine or doing some star jumps with your kids, exercise. And then spend 2 to 5 minutes just meditating. Again, when I say meditating, just focusing on your breathing, just like that exercise that I shared with you guys earlier, just few some deep breaths in and out, just for a couple of minutes. Then if you've got time, depending on your own situation, just read something that stimulates you intellectually. So you've got your physical body going, now do something, you've connected spiritually, do something intellectually, something that stimulates you. And if it's not possible for you, you know, you can listen to an audiobook while you're exercising, so you can do both. Or I try to maybe like listen to some adhkar when I'm doing exercising. So you can, in that sense, a little bit, not too much multitasking, but a little bit, you know, it's good to listen to morning adhkar as well while you're doing some of that morning routine. And finally, like eat a healthy breakfast with phones away, connect with the loved ones while having a healthy breakfast. I mean, you can adapt it to your own, obviously, routine, but just something I wanted to suggest that it really help. If you have this set up, it sets you up for your day, inshallah. So finally, I just wanted to share that, you know, what we're going through right now, oh my God, like it's completely like, could we have imagined this like a month ago, really? Like, you know, oops. Could we have imagined this, what we're facing today, a month ago? Unprecedented times, you know. What is Allah trying to tell us, you know, with all of this? You know, I think it's an opportunity for deep reflection. You know, who is in control? You know, Allah. You know, Allah is in control of all. Allah is, you know, it's all coming from Allah. So, you know, we think, you know, however, you know, it's just, I think it's such a reminder that however technologically advanced we are, however much, you know, technology has advanced, science has advanced, the world has advanced, but, you know, Allah is ultimately in control. It's just such a reminder that all we can do ultimately as humans is submit to the will of Allah. And, you know, maybe what's Allah trying to tell us? Maybe He's trying to tell us, you know, you forgot people in Kashmir, you forgot the Syrians, and now, like, you know, kind of get a taste of, it's just a small taste of what they've gone through, that you know, that uncertainty that we're experiencing, that fear, that lockdown. You know, others have been experiencing this for years. The other thing I want to share is, you know, like fear of death currently is so like widespread and more like at the top of our consciousness, more so than normal. Like why are we so scared? Like, why is everyone so scared? It's because people are scared that their loved ones could die, or they could die. You know, that this is very real at the moment, this kind of fear of death. But the thing is, like, death is inevitable. You know, if it's not this, then it's something, and we're going to die from something. So, you know, it's really an opportunity to reflect on death. Like when we get that fear caused by coronavirus, you know, remember that, you know, death is inevitable, and inshallah none of us will succumb, none of our loved ones will succumb. But if we were to succumb, would we be prepared? Do we have a will sorted out? Like anybody, even if we're young, anybody with a bit of wealth, they should, any savings should have a will sorted out. Are we spiritually prepared? And it's an opportunity for us to think, you know, if we only had 6 months to live, what would we be doing differently right now? It's an opportunity for us to think, you know, what is most important in your life? What is most important in your life? What is your values? Versus where does your time normally go? And I encourage you to just make a list, you know, what is most important to you in your life? And then make another list of where do you spend most of your time at the moment? And just reflect on, is there a big disparity there or not? And if there is, try and align the two. You know, are we living the life that we're prepared to meet Allah with? And what I'd encourage you to do is use this fear. You know, fear is not always a bad thing. Use this fear we feel, naturally the stress we feel with COVID, to motivate us to make these changes. You know, create habits, create routines, create the environment that will force you to, you know, align with your values, to align with the things that are important to you. Focus more on your salah, help and add value to the lives of others around you. And, you know, practice gratitude. You know, this is really an opportunity to reflect and be grateful for all the things we take for granted, our freedom, our going out, our toilet paper, you know, you can buy food whenever we want normally. You know, it's such a wake-up call for us to really be grateful for the blessings that Allah has given us. So in summary, I encourage you to stay safe, follow the guidance on self-isolation, social distancing and hygiene. You know, identify those things that are stressing you out and stimulating your fight or flight response. That's your sympathetic nervous system. So identify those when you're feeling triggered. And really take a moment to practice the techniques to self-regulate and calm yourself. Don't focus on the despair, but focus on the opportunity right now. The opportunity to boost your immunity, the opportunity to establish good, healthy routines, to help others, to do the things that you've been meaning to do for a while, and to improve yourself. And remember, this is like literally, I think, a once in a lifetime situation, circumstance. We will look back at this period and we will think, well, what did we do with that time? What did we do in that time period? And I ask you, are you going to emerge from this crisis a better person or a worse person? Are you going to emerge from this crisis a better person? Are you going to use this crisis to improve yourself as a person? And finally, I would say, oh, are you just going to be just the same when you come out? Are you just going to spend your time in self-isolation watching Netflix? Or, you know, what are you going to do with that time? You know, or are you going to emerge a better person, inshallah? And finally, you know, remember where this is all coming from. Keep tawakkul, keep, you know, tawakkul in Allah. Remember, He is most merciful. So, you know, tie your camels, but, you know, keep tawakkul in Allah, inshallah. And, you know, I pray that you all come out healthy and your loved ones all come out unscathed by this, this crisis, inshallah. So that's, oh dear, that's all from me.
Jazakallah khair, Hafsa.
Please forgive me for any shortcomings and for the technical issues, but really now I wanted to really just open it up to you all really to share any thoughts. What did you gain? What did you find most valuable from what I shared? What are you guys doing? Just open it up to you all, inshallah.
MashaAllah, that was really, really amazing, Hafsa. Thanks for that knowledge that you've given us. One thing that I'm finding quite daunting is that I'm going to still be working. So you mentioned that time isn't as much of a factor, but I'm still going to be working and doing my calls from home for my patients. And then I've got my daughter who's at school, and I have got so much homeschooling to do for her. So I have an issue of trying to balance my work and then balance teaching her. And then obviously managing the household. Both kids will be at home. I've still got all the household chores, but I'm kind of juggling everything. So how am I going to manage that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you have to work from home as well as look after your girls and and homeschool them. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be. I'll open it up to the floor because I don't have all the answers. Does anybody else have any tips for Shireen? By the way, you guys can share your camera. Do you want to share your cameras just to make it a bit more interactive? If you want to share your cameras, you can.
Assalamu alaikum. My hands are a bit dirty at the moment, so I can't share my camera. But I'd just like to say to Shireen, mashallah, may Allah put lots of barakah in your time. But also there's lots and lots of resources that are being made so that when it comes to homeschooling, you can use those resources without reinventing the wheel. So like, for example, PE, there's a YouTube where a instructor will be doing it for the kids every day at a set time. So put that into your diary and essentially they can follow the instructor while you're sorting out your GP phone calls and things like that. Equally, there's other resources and groups that are being made to share these resources on WhatsApp for different age groups. So use those, so that will reduce your time in terms of planning their homeschooling activities.
Oh, Jazakallah khair, Lina. That's really sweet. So the school has given us all the stuff that we need to cover. They've been really good with telling us all the things that she needs to cover in terms of day by day. They've given us a timetable. But, you know, the schools are basically possibly going to be shut till September. And then we're teaching them pretty much, you know, the whole of their half of their academic year. So it's really daunting, but I guess everyone else is in the same boat, all the other kids in all the other schools. So
yeah, and actually, alhamdulillah, we've been through the education and we know what we're teaching. There's a lot of parents who don't even know what they're teaching because they've never studied it before, or they don't even speak English, so they find the resources difficult. So alhamdulillah, we know what we're teaching to our kids. But equally, remember that in the schools, it takes them a lot longer to teach one subject or one little topic because they've got so many people in the class and they have to give time for breaks and things like that. If your kids are well behaved and you give them good incentives, then inshallah you can get that done a lot quicker. So don't feel as if you have to do 8 hours or however many hours they go to school for. You don't have to do all that every single day, because actually if your own child gets through it quickly, then alhamdulillah they can do other activities rather than you thinking, oh, I haven't done enough. It's probably because your child is focused on it and they haven't got the distraction of other kids, and therefore you'll get through it quicker, inshallah.
MashaAllah. I'm very impressed, Lina. MashaAllah.
Lina's wise.
Here. Lina, I'm really impressed, mashallah. You're going to be a future star mom.
Inshallah, one day.
Mashallah. Shireen, what actually I was planning, I mashallah have got 4 kids, and
Mashallah, you're my role model in life, mashallah.
Oh no, I will try my best. You know, they are just like the school closed today. What actually I'm planning, like to wake up in the morning to have my routine. I need my spiritual injection first of all, like after Fajr, Quran, and all those. Once I have got that, so even if you are being awake for an hour or something, just give yourself some rest before the kids wake up. And once you are done, and it depends your work, what time do they need? I'm sure you're not going to be working from home all those hours. So once you are working, like you have given them a breakfast or make them ready, let them have a watching time or play time, and or might be because if you are working, you might be deciding to change your hours when your hubby is around, like your partner is here. So in this way, that might be actually in this you can give full time to the girls in the morning. So it depends. Everybody's routine is different. But as Lina said, definitely you don't have to give them all those hours. You need to give them a breaks and time so you can breathe in as well, and you can relax, and you can have your own Quran time, your own ibadah